Zambia Blog Talk Radio.
Do you want to promote your business on Zambia Blog Talk Radio? Yes, that's right. Live on Zambia Blog Talk Radio. To book your spot, just make a donation by picking from the following categories. To get started, just call or WhatsApp the number on the screen and you'll be good to go. Live on Zambia Blog Talk Radio every Saturday for 1 full month. And it will stay on the recorded shows.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio, a huge thank you from my Zambia My Responsibility for your contribution, sponsorship, and partnership. You made it possible for us to train 30 young men in our mentorship day themed My God, My Career, and My Mental Health. Thank you very much from my Zambia My Responsibility.
All right, welcome. Special weekend here. May the 7th, 2022. We do thank you for joining us from whichever part of the world and country that you are listening to us. Good morning, USA. Good morning, Canada. Good morning, other parts of the world. And good afternoon, Zambia. Good afternoon, Europe. Good evening to those in the Western Pacific. It's a special 14th anniversary feature and on a special Happy Mother's Weekend. All right, let me bring in Mr. Mashonga as we get started here. Hi, Kasuluba.
Hi, Uncle Nathan.
You ready for this? We ready to go?
Super hyped and super excited.
I'm sure it's going to be a great show as we speak to one of Zambia's phenomenal young ladies, and we get to learn what she has to say. Those of you that are watching us, please tag a friend. Let somebody know that Zambia Blog Talk Radio is on. Please like our YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube link. You can search for us. It's ZBTRTV. So that you won't have to worry about missing the show. You will be getting notifications as they come when the show goes on the air. Okay, let's introduce our guest and get started here and get into the jinx of the business, all right? Natasha Mwamba is not a stranger. If you don't know Natasha, today you are going to have to learn a lot of things. She's a founder and executive director of Natasha Mwamba Foundation. She's an African Union ambassador. She's a youth, women, and health advocate, and she's involved in quite a bit of things. Hey, Natasha.
Hi, I'm super excited to be here. Hi,
yes, we're super excited to have you.
Kasulova's name, but Kasulova, I call him Kas. Lovely to see you.
Good to see you, Natasha. At least you got my name right this time around. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you so
That's
much,
amazing. So, Natasha, first of all, welcome. This is, by the way, this is our 14th anniversary special feature.
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing. Congratulations. I'm excited and feel really special to be the guest on this special anniversary feature. So thank you for having me.
And then number 2, we want to say happy birthday to you on your 21st birthday.
Thank you. It was on Tuesday, but thank you so much.
All right. I'm sure you had an exciting day, right? Celebration?
Yes. Yes, it was World Press Freedom Day as well, so I joined in on the commemorations. As you may know, I'm a media student. I'm very passionate about media, so that's how I started my journey. Actually, so yeah. So for me, it was special because I got to celebrate the role of media in social change and just basically our lives, but also to get to celebrate my own birthday. It was really fun.
Amazing. Did you attend the conference that where the president was the guest of honor? Did you attend that event?
No, unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it for the Indawa, but it was because I was running a meeting. We had a meeting with my foundation, so it was a bit tricky for me to join in. But I attended the one where the minister was addressing us the day before, but not the Indawa, the one at Mulungoshi.
Okay, all right. Let's get started here. Everybody's eager to hear. So, I mean, Natasha, I'm looking at stuff on YouTube, on Google, all social media platforms anybody can ever think of. How I'm reading somewhere and it says you were appointed African Union something. You're gonna tell us about that at 16 years old. How did this all start? When did this all start? What triggered all this? Tell us where it started from.
Thank you so much. I at times I almost never know how to respond to that question. But then one thing I can say for sure is that no human being ever makes themselves. You never make these things happen, but you really the things that happen to you are things that you decide, right? You have a dream and you want that to happen. You have a purpose in mind. God created you for a reason, but then it's the people around you that make these dreams come true. So my journey with the African Union began when I was in my 5th grade. I was about 8 years old. I remember coming home running to my dad, and I was telling him, I just learned about the AU at during social studies class. And so I'm telling him, like, I just learned about the AU, and guess what? I am going to work with the AU one day. And he looked at me and he said, of course you will, you're Natasha. And I'm just like, all right. So my journey then went on like that. I just wanted to change Africa. I just wanted to change its dynamics. And I joined a certain organization called the Media Network on Child Rights and Development. They trained me in media rights and, everything developmental. I got to see the world with a different perspective and lens. And so this one time, the executive director...
This is in what? In the 5th grade?
No. So in 5th grade, that was like my time of dreaming. I was really just on a journey of self-discovery. But then when I got to my 10th grade, an organization came to my school. So I applied to join them. And this is the Media Network on Child Rights and Development. So that was when I was about 12 years old. And after some time went on, I was, I moved. So I was living in Livingston. It was a rural area, but it was a rural place. It was this... it was the capital of Southern Province back then. But then I moved to Lusaka, and I was about... how old was I? I was about 14 when I moved to Lusaka. So when I moved to Lusaka, I met the executive director finally of our organization, and he tells me saying, you know what, there's this thing going on with the African Union. I think you'd be a good fit. Would you be interested? I'm like, would I be interested? Of course I would be interested. Now, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. All I knew is that I am going to the African Union to serve on their youth advisory board, and we were going to be the young people representing Africa to the African Union. So for me, that was all I needed to know, because young people development, I'm in. And so that's how he applied, and I was accepted. So till now, of course, my tenure was only for about 3 years. I'm no longer part of the African Union, but I still work with them here and there. But till date, they've never selected anyone below the age of 20. I have been their youngest youth advisory board member ever since. So that was really how it happened.
Natasha is the whole record-breaking lady.
I'm here, and I'm like, so Natasha, what are you saying about me?
No, I mean, sometimes just on that, I believe sometimes, even as I'm sure the questions will be coming, but sometimes one thing that we must learn to do, or must learn to stop doing, is to try to compare our journeys with someone else's. The fact that I did all those things at a young age doesn't mean that someone else who wasn't able to do it at a young age didn't do what they were supposed to be doing. We all have a role to play, and understanding where you stay, understanding your place, understanding your time, understanding God's timing, and even just understanding capturing those opportunities as they come. Never let an opportunity go to waste, because once it's never wasted. It goes to someone else. But then every opportunity captured at the right moment and with your preparation leads to great things. So it's never... someone doing big things should never make you feel as though, what was I doing? It should inspire you, yes, but then realize that you are meant to do something. So seek what you are meant to do and do it, because we need you to play that role.
Good point. Natasha, when you hear this terminology, our theme and our discussion today is what's the role of youth in national development, okay? So when you hear this terminology or phrases, youth and national development, what goes through your mind? Do you think our political and business leaders are addressing issues that are affecting your generation?
Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for that question. And when I think of youth in national development, we have so many varying definitions of youth as it stands, because some people say below 35, below this, and I really don't want to go too much into that, but just generally young people in national development. When I think of that, I think of this is our country, yeah. And I think of how before Kaunda was quite young, for instance, when he began to fight for the freedom that we have as a nation, for us to be rid of colonialism and all those things. And with his tribe, I like to call them the tribe because it's important to have your tribe of people that help you make change. But then he and his people fought for development, fought for freedom, rather. They fought for freedom, and that was the genesis of where we are as a country today. But then as time has changed, rather, I don't have to be the Kaunda of Zambia. I don't have to strive to be the Kaunda of Zambia, because he's already fought for the freedom that we need, for the freedom that we have today. And so it's become very easy for me to simply ride on what has already been fought for and instead fight for development. So this is where it now gets to a different stage, because we already have this nation, we already have the freedom, we already have the resources, we already have the control. And what's remaining now is for us to develop that as young people and ensure that we utilize it in the best way possible for it to help us harness our potential, for it to help us build the future we want, even the present that we want. And so with our leaders in place, the beauty with that is that the leaders that we have, leadership is basically a representation of the people. And so the leaders that we choose have got expertise, they've got knowledge, they've got, the skills, the abilities to bring what we want to reality. That's why they are placed in those positions. And, the question of whether they have been playing their role or doing it right is tricky to answer in some cases, because you could say yes in some cases and you could say no in other cases. But then it also comes into play with regards, no, they haven't done their role, but what is our role as well? Is it that maybe what we believe they should be doing is what we should be doing ourselves? Is it that we haven't been taking as much initiative as people? And we also can't expect for them to figure it out in a day, or we can't expect that they'll have it all figured out at once. A vision is almost never accomplished. So the vision that Kaunda had, the vision of development that we have in mind, may come to pass only when I'm 90 years old. And as young as I am, I might
well, just when
she was about to throw that punch,
yeah.
I'm sure she'll be coming back. All right, everybody joining us, we're speaking to Natasha Mwamba. She's
what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
Oh, was that like a signal thing? Did something happen?
You froze at some point, but that's fine. Go ahead.
So I can't even, I'm not too sure where I ended or what was the last thing that you heard me say.
Can you remember, Kasulu? Or let's just move on. Kasulu, go ahead.
Okay. But in summary, really, I believe that the leaders do have a key responsibility ensuring that we attain national development, but we as young people also need to realize what our role is, because development as a whole is dependent on different actors in society, not just the leaders but us as well. So I would say it's a 50-50. They are doing their part. There's some things they haven't gotten right, but we also do need to step up as young people to hold them accountable and do what we can in this particular issue that is regarding national development.
Okay. Okay. So how does that look like? The young people stepping up. The Zambian atmosphere is very brutal, rough, Natasha. The unemployment levels are so high because here we are, the government, the new Dawn government is trying to recruit, is it 30,000? And you're trying to recruit 30,000 and then you get 100,000 applications. Oh my goodness, that's overwhelming.
Yeah. I also
No, go ahead, Natasha. I'll come in after you.
Okay, I absolutely agree, because at the end of the day, there's so much that needs to be done, and it can get quite overwhelming. And as it stands, for instance, we have almost 50% of the Zambian population is young people, and all
Mm-hmm.
these young people want the same opportunities. They want, the same platforms. They want the same access. They want everything to be the same, and it can be quite daunting on the current government to ensure that they can provide all these platforms. But one thing that we need to realize as young people is that, in as much as we do have rights, we do have, all these things that are ensured or enshrined for us to have access to, we also have to become young people of value. At the end of the day, there's a reason why there are only 30,000 applications that are open, because they're looking for 30,000 people
Mm.
that are actually going to add value to the nation. And so, as a young person, and as an advocate, it's very interesting, because my mind, I have been trained from a young age to speak and speak and speak, and
Mm.
ensuring that something happens. But my life absolutely changed the moment I was speaking, and I said, I want audience with this and this person, and this person called me and said, hi, you have my attention, what do you want us to do? And so for me, it was eye-opening and changing, because in that moment I realized that, wait, we have been demanding for a seat at the table, but are we ready to serve the meal? And so, if you as a young person cannot find yourself in a position of relevance, cannot equip yourself, cannot get education, cannot get those skills for yourself, so at the moment that you're given the power to actually cause the change you are fighting for and want to see, then it's going to be all gone to waste. Because in that moment, I realized that him giving me that opportunity to say what I want to see change, and to give him ideas and resolutions and all those things of what should happen, meant that
Mm-hmm.
if I mess this up, then he would never trust another young person again. And so that's where the idea comes from. We have so many young people that are out there doing great things, but there are also some that are not representing young people, simply because they haven't placed or done enough to be of value. And that in itself is what shapes the nation. However, another
Mm.
thing that we must also realize is that this is why we have leaders. At the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day, sometimes all we can do is tell them what our problems are. This is why we selected them to be leaders. So they shouldn't always try to put the burden on us as young people to figure it out. This is why they are there. They have to figure it out, and they have to provide the solutions, because that is what they've been placed there to do. But at the end of the day, if you really want to be involved, if you really want, to be actively engaged, if you really want those opportunities, add value to yourself. That is the best way that you can maximize on them, and that is the best way that you can make these opportunities and open doors available for many other young people as well. So national development really depends on you as a young person, on the leaders as well, but it's a chain of value. How is you as an individual being put in the system going to push it further and cause the change that we want to see?
Amazing. For me, I like the statement that you made to say we cry for a seat at the table, but are we ready to serve the meal? Which is very true. Meaning that as young people, even as we're always just crying foul, no old guns and all that. They're doing these appointments and all that. But if a young person were to be given such an opportunity, would they be ready to deliver effectively? Amazing, great stuff. Um, Taking you back memory lane in 2019, you were at the Women Deliver conference in Canada, right? Yeah, you made world leaders stand up and give a round of applause, including President Kenyatta, if I'm not mistaken. However, the question, and some of the points I think I'll just read, what intrigued me was that you say there's nothing that's going to be done for us without us, that's just doing it against us. Powerful. You also made mention to say we need young people in key positions of power. We're not just going to be beneficiaries, meaning that as young people, we need to be given roles as well. It's high time we took the driving seat. Um, Please discuss the current state of things or situations in the countries that you participate in the countries that participated in the conference. What's the state of affairs as regards maybe young people involvement and participation, as regards policy decisions as well, prioritizing things that affect young people.
Before you
Including
respond to that, before Natasha responds to that, some people watching us may not be aware of what you are describing, Kasulova. Let's watch this.
One thing that really has to be emphasized is there is no way that anything is going to be done for us without us, because that's just doing it against us. So key messages really, I'm just going to go right into it. Can I stand? I feel more powerful when I stand. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so key messages really that I have for every leader that's out here today: do not do anything without us, for us, because one, we need young people in key positions of power. There is no way that you can be making decisions like she mentioned about young people's health, young people's education, young people's this, and then all you do is just let them be beneficiaries. We're not going to be beneficiaries. That's not happening anymore. It's 2019. So give us power. We need positions of power. And then secondly, I really want to talk about prioritizing things that have to do with young people and female empowerment. Look, it's enough that you can promise us that there will be gender equality. It's enough that you can say this and that, but we need this reflected. You can't have a national budget and adolescent health is amounting to 0.1%. That's not working. We need these reflections in things like the national budget, increased budgetary allocations to things that have to do with young people, increased budgetary allocations when it comes to gender equality and female empowerment. I hate that we call this thing child marriages. That's pedophilia. It's inhumane. These things have to be worked on and they have to be fought. We can't have girls being married off. We can't have girls not accessing education. We can't have girls not being able to take care of themselves every time of the month.
Wow. So those of you watching, if you've never seen that before, that was, I mean, I don't know how many times I'll tell you, Natasha, I've watched that. And I'm saying to myself, that was in 2019, right?
Yes, it was 2019.
Okay, 2019, is it 3 years ago? You were what, 18, 19 years old?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
So can you respond to what Kasulova asked you? What has been the outcome of the things that you highlighted at that event?
Do pardon me. I think my network is giving me some challenges. I did not hear your question.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead.
Kasulova.
Okay. So as regards the conference that you attended, the clip that is from playing, what can you say is the state of affairs now with regards to the countries that participated? What are some of the things that have changed as regards policy decisions, prioritizing things that affect young people, as well as just global national budgets, because these are some of the things that you brought up.
All right. Okay, so I believe I got that question. In some sense. Yeah. Okay. So I believe I got the question. It's basically what is the state of affairs of young people in the various nations that were represented there. Well,
Yes.
that question is quite broad in essence. But then one thing that we can see globally that has changed is that young people are stepping up, and we have gotten to see that there are a lot of policies right now that are favorable towards young people in what they want to do in their participation and their inclusion. And overall, really, even if we come back into the Zambian context, you find that we have young people that are stepping up into leadership positions. And so I don't know if you've heard of people like Nsama Mpundu, a councillor of Chainda. I think he just recently turned 22, but he's doing quite an amazing job. We have other young people taking up positions. We have the mayor that's about 20, 25, 20, I can't remember the ages. And so it really, if we look at it in this perspective and just generally what we can see as progress with regards how young people have been taking up positions and their participation, I believe that it has improved. And just generally around the world, even in times of COVID-19, we have seen that young people stepped up the most. They are the ones who are using social media to raise awareness. They are the ones who are sending the messages. They are the ones who are going out there educating other people. And so young people have stepped up, and it generally is, well, because of the motivation situation that we've seen around the world, it wasn't my speech alone that prompted for that to happen. We had so many other young people, such as, people like Greta Thunberg, if you've ever heard of her, who did amazing things. And that in itself ignites other young people to realize and say, you know what, if they can do it, I can do it too. And that in itself is what we must be looking at in that sense. And we also look at things like how the UN in itself has been creating things like the 2030 agenda. You find that I was looking at some of the documents, even for the African Union on youth participation and engagement. There are so many policies. Let's just be honest. The environment as it stands is very favorable towards young people engaged in national development and participating and driving change. And maybe the thing that we need to see happening more is that these young people are actually empowered to drive that change, that they're actually given what they need, if it's the money, if it's the platforms, if it's the access to people to drive the change that they want to see. But as it stands, we have so many policies on the ground around the world, not just in Zambia. I've been looking at different documents and, even working on my team. For instance, I run a foundation called the Natasha Monza Foundation, and we work with 200 young people globally. And I was talking to someone from Cameroon, and he was expressing the same sentiments. If you know Cameroon, it's a bit weird in terms of local dynamics. There's some war going on in some places, this and that. But then he generally has seen that young people are stepping up. And so we can attribute it to the fact that the environment has become more friendly. Globally, people have realized that young people are capable of creating the change that they want to see, and they're giving them the opportunities to do so. However, perhaps what we now need to see happening is young people being empowered enough to do it. And that's why in my speech I mentioned that give us the key positions of power, but then train us to know how to do it. Because I can't just wake up one day and say, I want to be president. I don't know what a president is supposed to do exactly. So, you need to train them, you need to empower them, give them what they need, shape them into the leaders that we desire and the leaders that we want to see. And in as much as, sometimes young people can be impatient, sometimes young people can think they know it all, let's honestly be humble. The nation is where we are today because people fought for it, because people shaped it as it is, because people went ahead of us. Have they made mistakes? Yes, but they have made the nation what it is today. Do we notice a few things we want to change? Yes, but without them, we wouldn't have the nation that we have. So we must learn from them. We must partner with them. We must make them realize that we are key as well, but we must also seek to be empowered, because at the end of the day, the world is really anyone's oyster. You can do what you want as a young person. You can be involved as much as you want, but you need to be empowered. And that is the gap that we have right now.
So how does this empowerment thing, Natasha, look like? One of the things that you said in that speech that I played is we need young people in key positions of power. We are not just going to be beneficiaries. I've also been impressed by something that you've alluded to. I know that we have a young mayor in Chipata, we have a young mayor in Mansa, and we have a young mayor in Kafue. I'm glad you mentioned the councillor in Chainda. Please connect me to that person. We can bring them on the show, encourage them and support them. So how does this look like in the Zambian scenario? We need young people in key positions of power. We are not just going to be beneficiaries. I want you to address that in the Zambian scenario.
So could you just repeat the question, the last sentence? I didn't hear that.
You didn't hear it. Okay. One of the points that you raised in that speech I played, you said something like, we need young people in key positions of power. We are not just going to be beneficiaries. How does that look like in the Zambian scenario? It's good to have a young mayor in Chipata, a young mayor in Mansa and Kafue, and you've also alluded to a young councillor in Chainda. So how does that point relate to the Zambian scenario? Not just being beneficiaries. Okay, I think can you hear me, Natasha? Okay, we have a network problem here.
All right. Okay, no, but I have gotten what you just asked, and I would respond to it by saying one of the things that active youth participation, one of the things that us not being beneficiaries rather looks like is that we are actively involved and that we are participating as young people. Young people need to be empowered to play vital roles in their own development. And this is seen, for instance, in how one key example that I love to give is, I just mentioned all those leaders and the like, and that's really it. We need to be given the opportunity. It's about being equipped enough to not just take up these positions, but to have a level playing field. Young people, women, men, sometimes we objectify them, or we put them in a certain bracket and make it seem as though they're individuals, and they need special needs, or they need this and this. But what we need to see is that these are people. They are people. They are quite capable. They have the ability. They are able to do it. And what we all need is the empowerment. So whether I'm young, whether I'm old, whether I'm female, whether I'm male, I need to be empowered to be able to compete fairly in an environment and actually drive the change that I want to see. What does this empowerment mean, or what does it look like? We need to ensure that we have access to proper education. Education is key. Without education, I cannot discover what my role is in development. I cannot discover or even understand what development is. And so if we're not investing in the education of young minds and young people, then we won't see them doing great things. I know, for instance, I remember having a conversation with Kasuluva about Florence, and Florence is this amazing innovator in Zambia who's doing great things, and she's educated enough for her to be where she is today. We have people like Insama who studied, he recently graduated, and they're educated. Education is key. Just like Nelson Mandela said, education is key and is necessary to level the playing ground. It is the greatest equalizer there is. So if I get educated today, and a 20 or maybe even a 50-year-old gets educated, the same level of education, and we're given that same level of education, it means by the end of me attaining my degree or whatever paper it is, we're going to be able to contribute the same way. And so if we invest in the education of young people now, imagine how much brighter the future is going to be. And education is not just about the paper and the studies. Education is about discovery. It opens up your mind. It brings you to the realization of solutions that are missing. And so if we're not investing in the education of young people, then we can look forward to a doomed Zambia, because minus education, there is no progress that can be made. The second thing that we need to invest in is to realize that young people are a major human resource for development, and hence harnessing that potential, harnessing them in the workforce, harnessing their skills, their abilities, and using that to propel economic growth or technological innovation or the health of a nation is absolutely key. And so if you look at young people as, of course, these are young people, they have human rights, but they are also a major human resource to drive this agenda as a nation. And once we see that young people are taking part in, national development, they're taking part in their communities, they're actively participating in different systems and the like, then we can actually say that we are making steps towards it, and that we have young people that are not just benefiting, they're not just seated, folding their arms, waiting for the system to do its thing, but they're being included, they're being involved, their voices are being heard, their abilities are being utilized, are being sharpened, are being developed, and ultimately they're being invested in, because we realize that the greatest investment we can make is in our young people if we want to see our nation moving forward. So in a nutshell, I would put it like that.
Excellent. All right. We're going to take a commercial break here, and when we come back, we shall continue our conversation with Natasha as she discusses issues to do with youth and national development.
Do you want to promote your business on Zambia Broad Talk Radio? Yes, that's right. Live on Zambia Broad Talk Radio. To book your spot, just make a donation by picking from the following categories. To get started, just call or WhatsApp the number on the screen and you'll be good to go. Live on Zambia Broad Talk Radio every Saturday for 1 full month. And it will stay on the recorded shows.
Hello. We also want to show you this. Our team, our audience, and partners participated in a fundraiser to help youth participate in a mentorship program. And this is the message from their hosts.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio, a huge thank you from my Zambia My Responsibility for your contribution, sponsorship, and partnership. You made it possible for us to train 30 young men in our mentorship day themed My God, My Career, and My Mental Health. Thank you very much from my Zambia, my responsibility.
Excellent. Thank you to our partners. Welcome back, Kasuluva and Natasha. All right, we continue our discussion.
Amazing. You have talked about empowerment, the importance of empowerment, and one of the key components of empowerment you have made mention is education, educating the young people, education being exposure and discovery. You have also highlighted to say it's not that young people should work alone, because at times they tend to think they know it all. They need the guidance from the older
The
people,
generation.
which,
Yes.
yeah, older generation, which is great. However, how can, with regards national development, what do you think young people have which the older generation do not have? Yes, the young people need to be trained and guided by the older people, but what do you think the young people come with which the older people do not have?
Amazing. I love answering that question because as a young person, it always brings me such pride to mention what I believe I bring to the table. So, firstly, we are very creative. The younger the generation, the more creative it is. I have a 10-year-old young sister, and today we were, carrying out a few activities together. And even as I said, having this conversation with her, I looked at her and I said, am I growing old? Is it that I'm 21 years old? But I would never have thought of what you just said. And so it's like as the generations get younger and younger, God just blesses them with brighter and fresher ideas. And before you know it, they're the ones who have the power to actually change the world. Because let's just be honest, as we're growing, the next generation is coming up and the power is going to be given to them. So we are running out of time to carry out what we need to carry out. Hence, we must realize that the younger generation has got creative and innovative ideas, fresh ideas, because they see things from a lens and perspective that we don't. The problem with growing up sometimes, and I'm saying this as a 21-year-old, but the problem with growing up sometimes is that we let our experiences dictate what can happen. We let what we've seen in the work field or at school or with certain people dictate what could happen and what should happen. And so before you know it, you're thinking, oh, that can happen because this is what people think like. But a young person will be there and saying, I've never gone through that. I am eager. I know it can happen. And so they have the energy that is untapped because they haven't gone through certain experiences that make them forget that, you're still young, you still have the power and you still have the potential in you. And so the first one is creative ideas. The second one, the energy. They are driven. They are not drained by everything that they've gone through in life. And me referring to myself doesn't mean I'm drained, but even at my stage, there are things we've gone through and we've seen that can easily drain your energy. But as a young person, it's easy for me to get back up because I have the energy, I have the zeal. And so even if we are to bring a problem right now, many other people say, we've seen this before, it's never worked out. But we as young people, they're saying, we can make it happen, we will make it happen, just give it to us, because we think possibility and we have the energy. The third thing that we have is that we have a lot of influence over other young people. We cannot deny that as it stands, the world is largely dominated by young people, not just in terms of population, but in terms of ideas. Some of the most famous people that we know today are young. Some of the most influential people that we know today are young. Some of the most, people that are listened to, people that are followed, people that whose words are taken to heart are actually quite young. And so if you want to influence the generation, if you want to drive them towards a certain idea, this is, pardon me for not finishing this sentence, but then this is why we also get to see that a lot of organizations right now are working with young people, because they know that if you paint and I hate that sometimes they do it for the sake of money or whatever, but then they've gotten it that if you paint the picture that young people are actively involved, then you are going to win over many other people. And so young people are actually very, very influential as it stands over each other and over the world at large. Because the other time my mom had a problem with her phone, and she was like, the only time you ever call your children to help with your phone or to help you out is if you have a problem with your phone. That's the only time you listen to, your children. And so for me, I looked at that and I said, no, as it stands, the world listens to young people because they've realized that these are problems that they have failed to face. And hence they are looking for new solutions, new ideas. And this is why young people's voices are heard now more than they've ever been before, because we have the solutions and we can seek them and we can find them. And above all, we are the solutions. So those are some of the reasons why young people, what young people bring to the table. And then another thing that happens, we need to realize is that in as much as, there's like young people, old people, at the end of the day, if this hand is old people, if this hand is young people, bringing this together to make our hands grasp means that we need people to partner with each other. So if you don't have young people involved, then this is going to be incomplete. No matter, even if all that young people bring to the table is just talking, it will still be incomplete without young people. We'll need them to be involved and adequately part of it if we want to solve this great puzzle that we have. And so it's just right, because they are the majority and they are a part of the population, that we partner together and listen to them. And I'm not trying to say, of course, that the older people don't have anything. For instance, they have the experiences, they have an understanding of the system. I remember I was working with the UN a few weeks ago, and we were having a conversation about how complicated the UN system is. And one person literally from the UN itself was looking at me and saying, not even I understand it. We just need to talk to the bigger people for them to explain it to us. And so you get to see that, okay, I may be eager, I want to be the UNSG, I want to be this UN thing, but if I don't understand it, then it's going to be futile. Hence, the older generation brings in experiences, they bring in expertise, they bring in know-how and knowledge of how systems currently work and how we can actually be involved. Otherwise, the partnership is important. Young people are powerful, and we cannot do it alone either way. In as much as we want to, in as much as we're fighting to, we cannot do it alone. So we do need the older generation to partner with us. And this is because in partnership, this is going to be my final comment on this, but in partnership, we need to realize that when partners come together, it's because each party has got something they can bring to the table. If today Elon Musk calls me and he says, I need you to help me with my company borrowing or whatever, and we have a conversation, he's not calling me just because I'm some ordinary citizen. He's probably calling me because I have ideas, I have people that I can bring on board, I have a country that he can invest in, I have this and this, and he himself has the company and the money. And so we sit down and say, we're both powerful, we're both important, we're both relevant, let's make this work. That is what partnership is about. Both parties have a role to play. Both parties have something to bring to the table. And we need to realize that if we don't partner, then it will not be solved. We will not solve any problems. And this is why it's very, very key.
If we do not partner, it will not be solved. You've talked about young people bringing in creative ideas. They have influence. They are energetic, meaning that they're driven, which really is awesome. Takes me to the next question. So then, what word do you have to young people that do not want to take part of national agenda, knowing that young people carry all these components or other elements that you have made mention?
Okay, so we recently in my management class, we were taught about, theory X and theory Y. Theory X are people that you need to push a bit to get, not a bit, you need to push a lot. You need to coerce for them to actually get the job done. And then theory Y is a category of people that easily.
Okay,
Theory Y.
theory X.
Yeah, well, on theory
Y.
Y.
Can you bring Natasha back?
Yeah, it's.
Thank you,
It's
everybody
really...
watching. We appreciate your comments, and those of us in the older generation, we are learning something here that we need to partner.
Yeah, that we complement each other, Uncle Nathan. I think that's what I'm learning from Natasha.
Yes, we do.
We all bring something to the table that's unique.
Okay, there she comes. Continue from wherever you ended.
Theory Y.
Theory Y, theory X.
Yeah, so theory X, people that need to be pushed to get something done. Theory
Okay.
Y, people that motivate themselves. They're highly motivated, and there are different things that we can do to influence or change people and move them from theory X to theory Y. And so one of them is helping them see that it is important for them to get the job done because it satisfies their personal needs, it satisfies their personal ambitions, it helps them become better people. If you are a young person and you are not actively involved in national development, I believe it's mainly because you haven't realized how important this is, not just to the country, but to you as an individual. There are so many things that we keep doing and fighting. When you see all these young people doing great and mighty things, but the reason why we still keep at it is we also see how beneficial it is to us. We see how beneficial it is to our nation, to our future. This is why you find that people like Vanessa Nakate from Kenya keep fighting and for the climate, because they get to see that if we don't fight for it now, our future is doomed. I won't get to have kids, I won't get to have a husband, our future is doomed. So if you are not fighting for it, it's probably because you just haven't seen how personal it is and how much it will affect you if you don't get involved. So once you grasp that, once you take a hold of that, then you realize that there's a lot that you have to do, and there's a lot that you have to be doing in order to attain national development. The second thing is they just haven't found it yet. They just haven't found. When I say it, I mean that one opportunity, that one platform, that one space, that one engagement, that one individual that propels them. I remember how I started off my journey. I was on this journey of self-discovery. I was just like, no, I'm not satisfied. I was created for a reason. Mommy, why was I born? Daddy, what am I supposed to be doing? I kept looking around until I met a newspaper article about Malala Yousafzai. And I said, people can do that. I would do it as well. So it's just that they haven't found that one thing that can trigger them and make them realize that they too can be part of the transformation of the world. Otherwise, these two things, once they realize how personal it is, and then they get in contact with that one thing that drives them and brings out that potential, they are going to do great and mighty things. And then the third thing is because they probably see it in the lens of, when we're having a conversation about national development, the one thing we always government this, leadership that. But then there are different sectors of society, there are different mountains of influence. We have education, we have family, we have religion, we have media and entertainment, we have the business sector. And so even as we're having these conversations, we need to make young people realize that you are not just to be relevant in one field, and that's government. There are different fields that you can be relevant in. As a musician who's passionate about painting, you can use your paint to promote positive messages. As a young person who's passionate about education, your education is going to give the ideas, just like Daniel in the olden days, and transform whole systems, or Joseph, and revive the economy of the nation. So we need young people to realize that it is not just a one thing that makes you stand out and relevant. There are so many different platforms, so many different aspects where who you are can be applied to drive national development. And once we find that place for them, place them in that position, give them the empowerment they need, watch them excel. No individual who's in the right place to function. If you put a fish in a tree, it will die because the sun is too much. But if you put a fish in water, it will swim. If you put young people where they're supposed to be placed to drive national development, in that position where they are themselves and can use that, watch them function and watch them flourish. So I believe it's just because we haven't gotten to a place where we've empowered them enough to make it personal to them, make them realize that we need them involved, that this is for their future, and also put them in a position where they realize that if they don't do it, no one else will, and no one else will. And we just need to make these platforms more open and available and more talked about, away from just one, which is government and leadership. There's so many ways that you can be part of the change that you want to see. So go for those ways, find those ways, and place yourself there. Trust me, once young people catch this, then there's nothing we cannot do. So you need to bring them together in such a space and make them do that. So that for me would be my message. I know it was a lecture, but you took down notes.
Theory X, theory Y.
Amazing, Natasha. All right, let's listen. We have some very special messages here from people watching us. Dr. Nyendo says, Imiti Kula Empanga, keep it up, Natasha. All right, so everybody, and then Matilda says, I love our can-do attitude. Thanks, Matilda. That's wonderful. free flow lifestyle. Well said, young lady. I mean, people are just appreciating this conversation and discussion as we continue looking at some comments here. I mean, it's amazing, Natasha, and Mr. Francis from Florida says impressed, and everybody is just amazed. We are going to do something here. I've got a surprise for you, Natasha. Okay, you see
Ooh.
that?
Yes, I do. I'm
Okay,
curious.
you're curious? Yes, this was my surprise for you. All right. It's good to
Uh-huh.
do memorable moments. Remember, this
Okay.
is our 14th anniversary special feature today. And we
Yeah.
also celebrated with you your 21st birthday. So here's
Yeah.
what I'm going to do. Okay. These are Natasha's memorable moments. I'll be showing you pictures and I want you to tell us what and who we are looking at here. All right. Okay. Here we
Okay.
go. Do you remember
Oh
this?
my God. Yes, I had just done an interview with the Canadian High Commissioner to Zambia, Miss Pamela O'Donnell. Yeah, we had just done an interview at ZNBC concerning young people, leadership, development, and the role of Canada in Zambia. It was quite
So
interesting. We were actually doing it.
That's the Canadian High Commissioner to Zambia.
Yes, Pamela O'Donnell. O'Donnell. I can't remember how to pronounce her surname, but
Okay,
yes.
that's cool. All right, let's go to another one. Natasha's memorable moments.
Oh wow, that's Lady Gaga's mom. I can't remember the first
Oh,
name, but yeah,
oh wow.
we
Okay.
Really?
met. Yeah, we met at the World Health Assembly, the 75th
Nelly, did you
gathering.
hear that? Lady Gaga's mom.
They actually
You
do
know, when I was
resemble.
looking at these pictures, I was wondering, I'm like, who are these people? So I just said, Natasha herself is going to tell us. So where was this?
This was in Geneva, in Switzerland. We had met for the 75th World Health Assembly gathering, where I was
Mm-hmm.
giving a speech on the role of young people and what we need to do to invest in young people's health. And she was doing a session on mental health. So she heard me speak and she was like, let's work on something together. So yeah, that was where we met and we talked a
What?
bit till we had
Okay.
the session
Apart
and it
from
was
saying let's work on something together, what else did she? What did she say to you right here?
well, she was very impressed. She was very impressed at just how, and she also made a commitment saying that she would involve more young people in her work, especially dealing with mental health, because she realized that young people were quite affected. But she was very impressed, and she assured me that she would reach out, which she did. And so I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to working with her some more.
Okay. Have you ever spoken to Lady Gaga?
No, no, not yet.
I'm just eager. All right. Who is this? I'm sure that most of us will recognize this gentleman.
Yes, this is definitely the Canadian Prime Minister himself, Justin Trudeau. Very, very amazing man. And yeah, it was great getting to meet him.
All right. This was at the event where you blew everybody away in Canada, right?
Yes.
What did he say to you? Anything that stands out that you remember that he said to you?
Yes, actually. So it's even on his Instagram and his Twitter accounts. I have screenshots, so I always go back and just
Mhm.
look at them. But then he was very impressed with my intelligence, my articulativeness, and he actually even told me that he looks forward to sharing a stage with me where I become a world leader myself, either a president or some other position. So that was what he
Wow.
mentioned. He also mentioned that he's keen and eager to partner with more young people in driving the development of Canada. So yeah, we
Okay.
we have quite some work ahead.
Excellent. Okay, here we go.
Oh, that's oh my, I can't remember her name, but that's Uhuru Kenyatta's wife.
Yes.
Oh,
And
Okay.
so yes.
Kenya's first lady.
Yes, Kenya's first lady. So we met
Natasha,
at
you've been around. Leo, you've been around.
quite around. So for her, we
Where
met
was
in
this?
this was also Geneva, Switzerland. And
Mm-hmm.
so we met during a walk the talk organized by the World Health Organization. It's basically a march past on health. So yeah, she was being awarded for, what did she do? I can't remember, but she was being awarded, and I was one of the people awarding her from the World Health Organization panel.
Okay, excellent. Let's see. One more, maybe two more. And these ladies? That,
So yeah, so again we have the Canadian High Commissioner, and the lady on the other side is actually the person who was coordinating. So I was working with the Canadian High Commission on a project. It was a campaign to involve more women in in defense forces, because we realized that the more feminine the better. And so we were driving around this day. We went to different places, and so that was the lady coordinating it from the High Commission. I can't remember her name, unfortunately, but the other one leaning and smiling brightly with the hair, as we can recognize, is
yeah,
the
I
High
remember.
Commissioner.
That's the first photo we showed, right?
Yes.
Okay, I think let's do one more before we conclude our discussion for today. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this.
Me too.
Yeah, I just thought we should do this. And this one, where was this?
Oh, I love this one. So this was actually in California, the USA. So I was called up and invited by the Hilton Foundation, the Hilton
Mm-hmm.
Hotels Foundation. And so the lady interviewing me there is actually from what place is
Oh,
that?
sorry.
I can't remember what TV station. She's really famous. And then the lady on the other side is a sister. So but then she's one of those missionary sisters who travel around the world and work with young people. So we were
Mm-hmm.
discussing intergenerational partnership, and my hands out that was me talking and telling them what we would like to see as young people done, and how this partnership looks like and what it means to us.
Okay, I just want to show one more here because you are with somebody, another special young lady. This will be the last one.
Ah, love this one. So this was at the World Economic Forum, the 50th World Economic Forum
Mm-hmm.
in Davos. In Davos, Davos. Where is Davos? Switzerland? Davos. I can't remember. But yeah, so so
That
this is
is,
so the
what's
guy
her name?
there,
I forget her name. What's her name?
Greta Thunberg.
Yes, yes. Do
So
you
that's
like
Greta
communicate?
Thunberg.
Do you communicate frequently?
No, not frequently, but then we have spoken in some instances. So after this event, we had another engagement organized by the World Economic Forum, and so that's where we had some of those discussions. But we don't speak frequently. I believe she's quite busy, and so am I. So,
So you are all
but whenever we
busy.
do get a chance, yeah, whenever we do get a chance, we do speak, and we do some sessions together, conferences here and there, and so yeah.
Okay, as we wind up our discussion here, I want to bring in one of my special friends. I think she may want to ask you a question or something before the show ends. This is Miss Nelly. She's the co-host and at the Insaka Talk Show, and I know she was itching to say something to you, so we shall bring her in. And good morning, Nelly. Sorry for getting you out of bed early in the morning. Only Pastor Nathan can do that.
Only for you, Pastor Nathan.
Anything for me, right? I like that. So you get to ask Natasha the last question here.
Oh my goodness, she is. You are amazing, Natasha. I have been watching, and I
Thank
must
you.
say that it was well worth me getting up out of bed early this Saturday morning.
I'm glad.
Wow. So, we've looked at pictures of people around the world that you have met. Whom would you say was the most wow moment for you? Like when you met this person, you were like starstruck.
Is it just me or she's frozen again?
No, it's you. You can't hear her?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
I'll repeat the question. So I said, out of everybody that you've met, and you've met a lot of, interesting people, you've met stars, you've met heads of state, out of everyone that you've met so far, whom would you say was the most amazing person for you? Like when you saw this person, you just got starstruck, like you get tongue tied and you're just like, oh, I can't believe.
Wow, that's a very That's a very interesting question. So I don't think I've ever met someone and I've been starstruck. It's my own personal beliefs and stand, because I remember once listening to, I think, Maya Angelou, and she
Mm,
told me that you should never believe anyone is larger than life, because the moment you
mm,
do so, it's like you're limiting yourself to this individual and what they've done. We are all as human as anyone else gets, and it's God who gives us the ability to go far beyond what we can think or even imagine. So I always do it from that perspective. When I meet someone, no matter how big they are, for me, it's they're another human being that's doing great stuff. I acknowledge and appreciate them. So yeah, but I've never really been like starstruck about someone. I wouldn't say that. But one person whose encounter with me totally transformed my life is Katja Everson. So she was once the president of Women Deliver. And so the first time I met her was a few minutes before I actually gave that speech on the world stage. And so I was looking at her, I'm like, Katja, what if I mess up? I have 5 minutes to say something. I don't know if I'm gonna do it well, and these are things that people don't see in the background going on. I don't know how many times I've had to call my pastor, Apostle Fred, like, okay, Dad, I'm about to give a speech in front of presidents. I'm scared. I need prayers. And he's just there, like, oh, you got this. So sometimes it's these individuals and their kindness. And she looked at me and said, Natasha, yeah, Natasha, we selected you because you're Natasha. Go and give the world something that
I
no
like
one else
that.
can
like that.
except
I
Natasha.
like that.
And so
We
when I looked at her, I'm
selected
like,
you because you
you
are
know,
Natasha. Wow, wow.
exactly.
That
And so
will
she said, just
preach.
sing them. Yeah, so she just said, sing them a good song. Just sing them a good song, a song they'll never forget. And that's all I needed. And ever since then, she's been there for me. She's been encouraging me. She's been helping me even with my foundation and every other thing that I do. She's really been a great mentor. So I believe of all the global and international people I met, she was life changing because she opened up so many doors, and she also just opened me up to so much. My mind changed, and it was just amazing meeting her.
We haven't even talked about the Natasha Mwansa Foundation as we conclude here. Could you do it in like 1 minute? What is Natasha Mwansa Foundation about? And if people want to connect with you, participate,
Mhm.
or even support financially?
Yes, that is very key actually. Running a foundation at a young age came with so many strains, and so sometimes people look at you and wonder, like, okay, how do you? It's God, but above all else, it's
Mm,
the people that make it work as well. So the Natasha Mansa Foundation is a foundation whose vision is to live in a world in which young people are enlightened, equipped, and empowered to live out their full potential. We believe every young person is capable of something uniquely given to them and authentically theirs, that once they unleash, the whole world will change. And so we venture into two main different aspects: health and development, and youth participation and partnership. So we want to train young people to be health experts, to be developmental experts, as well as to be leaders and participate more in national development, because that's what we believe will transform the world, and we want to put them in such a space. So if you'd like to be part of our activities, we have a lot of opportunities to volunteer with us in various activities. For instance, right now we're running a Future of Media project, and it's going
mm.
to be quite phenomenal. So if you'd like to take part, just search for the Natasha Mwansa Foundation Facebook page and you'll find us there, or my page, Natasha Mwansa, and you'll find information there. And if you'd like to donate, there are different platforms that you'll find. You can just send us a message saying would like to bless your work, and we are very open to it. It will be very, very helpful. So yeah, so if you'd like to partner with us in any way, just search for us and you'll find us there.
Excellent. Wow, Natasha, thank you for taking the time. I know you're a busy person. There's one thing I said I was going to let everybody know about. I mean, amazing thing. You are just a phenomenal young lady. Here's the thing that I was going to tell everybody at the end. Are you ready for this, Nelly?
Hmm.
Natasha is a deaconess in our church.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay?
Wow.
Yes.
Now I'm going to speak in these kids just want to groove and drink and dance. Natasha is a deaconess in a church. There you go. I think that should be mind
Yes.
blowing. Natasha, thank you. God bless you. May He increase you. May
Amen.
He surprise you.
Amen.
And
Amen.
you can count on us if you need anything done, you need a platform to be
Thank
on.
you.
This is your home.
Thank you so much, and amen. Thank you. I had such an amazing time. Kasuluba, Kas, Miss Nelly, Pastor Nathan, thank you for having me. And to everyone who joined in, thank you for taking time to listen, and thank you for the encouraging words. I love this, and I'll just like to say, let's continue being a voice, a light, and a solution, and let's change the world. We got this. We got this. So
Yes,
thank
we
you
do.
so much, and yeah, enjoy the rest of
Yes, we
your
do. All
morning,
right.
evening, day, night, wherever you are. Enjoy the
All
rest
right.
of
Have a
it.
great weekend. We shall take a break here, and Nelly and Pastor Campbell will be joining us to do an analysis of our conversation with Natasha.
Do you want to promote your business on Zambia Broad Talk Radio? Yes, that's right. Live on Zambia Broad Talk Radio. To book your spot, just make a donation by picking from the following categories. To get started, just call or WhatsApp the number on the screen and you'll be good to go. Live on Zambia Broad Talk Radio every Saturday for 1 full month. And it will stay on the recorded shows.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio, a huge thank you from my Zambia My Responsibility for your contribution, sponsorship, and partnership. You made it possible for us to train 30 young men in our mentorship day themed My God, My Career, and My Mental Health. Thank you very much from my Zambia My Responsibility.
Welcome back, everybody. That was Natasha Mwansawang talking about youth and national development. Also joining us here is my good friend, Pastor Campbell Umbila from New York. We never say much about Campbell, but most of you may not know that he is the chairperson for the Zambian Clergy Network in North America. Good morning, Pastor Campbell.
Good morning, Pastor Nathan. How you doing?
Hi again, Nelly. Thank you. Nelly, thank you for taking the time. I know ladies, the weekend are very busy. And for you to put everything down and do this for Pastor Nathan, oh, Nelly.
Good morning, Pastor Campbell.
Good morning. How you doing?
And my good friend, you see, did you hear what Natasha said? Yeah, the old and the young. That's what Kasulva and I are doing here. I keep telling people I'm about to retire and give this to Kasulva. Okay, let's get into this, okay? And you also, Chola, there in the video thanking Zambia Blog Talk Radio and its friends, those that contributed to the youth mentorship program. We appreciate you all and for making those contribute. Whether you did $20, $30, $40, $100, we want to say thank you. Okay, Pastor Campbell, you heard Natasha. Let me start with you. What stood out? What stood out? I know many things, but pick out one thing that stood out to you.
Impressive.
Impressive.
She's an impressive young lady. Yeah, very, very intelligent, articulate, knows what I think needs to happen to actually see participation of youth in national development. So I was really, really impressed. So yeah, impressive.
Impressive. That's it. Okay, Nelly, what stood out?
I mean, we can go deeper, but I mean,
yeah, go deeper. Aren't you a papa? Go deeper.
Go deeper, papa. No, but just to see the articulation of she seems to have a very clear, or at least an emerging clarity around youth issues and youth involvement in national development. And so for me, one of the things that I found to be impressive was just even what she sees to be the contribution of youth, right, to national development. Things like we bring the energy and we bring the zeal.
Yes.
She talked about we think possibility. She talked about even as young people, they are influencers. And in the age of social media, where everybody basically is a broadcaster and an influencer, young people have a certain understanding of the current technological landscape that they're able to actually bring coalitions of people together towards a cause. So she sees that as an asset that youth can bring to the table in terms of national development. So yeah, very impressive.
Okay. Nelly?
You know, for me, I was struck by her bravery. You know, most young people, I remember myself as a young person, I was very shy. I was very introverted. And so having this young lady, so brave to stand among the world leaders, and just articulate herself in such a clear and energetic way. It's like she feels, she believes, and um, that was astounding to me. Yeah, she's very brave, and I feel like with bravery comes action, because now she's not afraid to speak her mind about issues, and to let us know what's going right and what's going wrong. And another thing that I liked about what she expressed is having young people find the niche. Um, some people will say, well, young people are not involved enough. Well, maybe it's because we're trying to involve them in something that does not resonate with them, right? So it has to resonate with you. Whatever activity that you're trying to get that young person to be involved in before you can jump into it and get involved.
Excellent. I'm glad that you mentioned the word brave, Nelly. It reminds me in my leadership class in school. Uh, our professor said leadership requires courage.
Yeah.
And I think Joshua, how many times does God say to Joshua, be strong and courageous? I think it's 6 times. There's a reason God was saying that to Joshua, because, I mean, Kasulova, I can't imagine myself standing on that platform where she stood. Canadian Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta there stand. I mean, there were world leaders in that forum, and only God knows what other important people were in there. And look at the way she carried herself. To me, my favorite part in that video clip is, can I stand? I feel more powerful when I'm standing. Okay?
Yeah.
Rasulova, your comment. Can I stand? I feel more powerful when I'm standing. You have no idea how many times I've watched that video, and I'm saying to myself, wow. Mr. K.
I like how you made reference to biblical characters like Joshua and all that, because for me, what stands out is the fact that she has connected or aligned herself with young people are driven in a similar way. Do you know what kills us young people? What kills us young people is the fact that you want to be different, but you are in a community where all the other young people just want to party and drink and do other things. So then you're in a place where you're being looked down upon, or you're being seen to be you're not serious. You're supposed to be going out. Why are you doing this? You're supposed to be doing that. And this is what has led many young people astray. But if we heard from what she was saying, she was able to point out a young person from Switzerland doing this. There's a young mayor in Zambia. There's a young this and that. So she knows to say there is a network of young people doing similar things, meaning that she's headed the right way and the right direction. And for me, that's the realization that young people need to have, to say you're not alone. You might be in some place in Eastern Province in Zambia where you're the only person, but know that in Monza, there's also a team of other people doing the same thing, in Dola or in the USA, in Spain. And once you realize that, to say it's only a matter of time, we'll be able to come together and work together. So for me, that realization is what has actually made her even do extraordinary things, and she's yet to do more.
Kasulwa, you've mentioned something about trying to be different in this mesh of whatever is going on. Nelly, you have, yeah, that's why I'm mentioning you, because I can see the expression on your face. You have a college student in your home.
Yeah. So, as young people, and I think as an individual, really, one of the mistakes that we make is we try to fit in. Why fit in when you can stand out? We were created to be unique individuals. Even twins we're not born at exactly the same time.
That's right.
One came after the other, and they have different personalities as well. So, um, as a young person out there, I think it's important to understand that even if you're different, that's actually what makes you special. Don't try to fight the difference in you. If
Mm.
people around you, where you live, their narrative is we wake up, we go and party, we drink, if that's what it is, and you feel like that's not how I want my life to be, don't fight it. Go ahead and lead your life the way you feel it should go. Don't go with the flow, right?
Don't go with the flow.
Yeah,
Mm.
don't go with the flow. And I have a college student, in my house right now, my son, whom I almost led astray because I figured he needed to be in one direction, right? Education wise. And I think that's a whole nother topic when you talk about education, because it encompasses, sometimes we put education as, okay, go to school, be a doctor, be a teacher, be a police officer. But we need to broaden our perspective of what
That's right.
education is. And there are so many different ways that somebody can make a living, whether it's in the arts, it's in music, it's serving the Lord. Education is still a component of that.
Mm.
So, sorry, I,
That's fine. That's fine.
I give,
Cambo, you are a minister of the gospel, and I just don't want us to gloss over this. I made a comment about it at the end of our conversation with Natasha, that she's a leader in the church.
Mhm.
She's on a world platform.
Mhm.
She's a leader in the church. What's the significance of that in light of actually what even Kasuluva said and Miss Nelly here? You see, we tend, it's like it's a general phenomenon to say, oh, pariapelele mwaiche so lekeni angale.
The Kenyan
But
guy.
she has
Akakula.
not akakula.
Mm.
But does somebody really need to make the errors, the mistakes, the blunders, wallow in the mud, and then get out of it? Can't somebody just go through life with the purity of what God expects of us?
Yeah, and I mean, what better place to develop leaders than the church?
Mhm.
Right? Because we have so many opportunities for people to practice leadership, whether that is just being part of Sunday school, leading, having a leading role, or even a part to play in a Sunday school play, and then becoming part of the Sunday school leadership, and then youth leadership, and finally you're in your deacon and eldership board. There is no place, I think, that is more suited to develop leadership character than the church. And to me, I'm not surprised that such a person has come from the household of God, because you have a person that is rooted in her values, and you can tell that her values are more than getting money. It is making a change and becoming a difference. She said at one point, and I think I wrote this down, she said, understand your purpose and God's timing, right? Understand your creator's original intent for your creation, and understand that there is a place where success happens when preparation meets opportunity, right? That collision of preparation and opportunity creates success. And so, to me, what better place to develop leaders than the church? And I think, especially the Zambian church, needs to embrace this gift that God has given us to shape young minds and hearts for national leadership.
Amazing. Let me just mention something here before I forget as we go along. We have just in the middle of our discussion. This is our 14th anniversary special feature. We've been doing this for 14 years, okay? So we are grateful to the Lord, and we've come a long way. Next week, we're going to have a special show. Dr. Victoria Scott is going to take over everything, Nelly.
woo,
Yeah.
And Roger and I and Kasuluva and Dr. Scott will take over everything. Roger and I will be in the hot seat, okay? She just called me and said that's what is gonna happen. I wasn't going to fight with her or argue with her.
no,
She said something that, these are things that don't make grown men cry. Says, the platform has done a lot, and she feels like we are not celebrated enough. I was like, oh, please don't go that route. I mean,
I agree.
okay, so this is our 14th anniversary special feature. There's something that Natasha mentioned, and we shall conclude with this. When she talked about, I think, Kasulu, were you the one who asked this question? Where she talked about creative, or about young people, creative and tapped energy. We have the solution and partnership.
They also have influence.
Okay, we also have influence. Can you speak to that? Can you speak to that, Kasulu? And then we shall conclude with that.
Yeah, so I liked what she said, because the question was actually to say, what do young people have that which the older people do not? In as much as there's need for collaboration, young people need to be educated, and then they need to be mentored, or rather guided by the older people. But what do they bring to the table? And then that's when she brought in all these attributes, which is very important to actually realize, because I have been seeing this. I have been seeing comments to say, especially by older people or parents, to say the kids that are coming now, they are spoiled, or they are this. Us weren't like this. Us weren't like that. You get, which should not be the case. It should. Natasha made me.
As we were not like that. We grew up when there was no social media and cell phone. Come on.
Yes, Natasha made mention to say, every time that a person grows older, the one that's younger is actually smarter, and they bring something unique and something different. It's only about knowing how to like channeling them properly, because this sharpness that the young people come with could also be detrimental if not well cultured. You find that even Natasha kept on saying, I feel old, I'm 21. I think I can also I can also say the same thing, Uncle Nathan. When I was way younger, when I was a teenager, there were certain things that I couldn't do, even just technology. But then you find that the younger people now already can maneuver around this and that. My big brother here, Wakambo, I'm sure, will agree to say there are certain things that his son is able to do, and he's just like, who's the father between the two of us? Yeah, so it is.
But you heard us say, sorry to interrupt you, you heard us say that your parents only call you when they need help with the phone. You heard us say that, right?
I have a funny story.
Okay.
So in our house, we have this light. We've had it for like years, even before our son was born. And when he was 2, I walked into the living room and it was dim in there. And I'm like, what is wrong? And I was looking at the bulbs. The bulbs are working. The light is turning on. So after I sat there for a few minutes, he gets up, he stands on his stool, and he goes to the remote and he pushes a button, and he's just standing there, and the lights get brighter. And I was like, you gotta be kidding. You mean
you felt
lights,
right? Stoned.
We have
2-year-old
lights.
2 years old.
2 years old. Dimmable lights for years, and we didn't know that. That's
You didn't
how
know that.
No.
Did you hear that? A 2-year-old.
Exactly what Natasha was talking about. No wonder the role now of the older generation is to see how they could help these young people with these attributes and give them a proper place, give them a place at the table, because definitely they already have what to offer. Yeah, sidelining them will not make things any better. It's about, okay, you have these unique attributes, you have influence, you are very creative, you're smart, you're driven, you're energetic. So now this is the role that you're going to play, and the nation and the world will be a better place. As Natasha
I couldn't agree more. When we talk about young people and creativity are inseparable.
Mm.
I think there was in one of my psychology classes, there was an experiment done on, showing the decline of creativity as we get older,
Wow.
because fear comes in when you give a set of 2 and 3-year-olds, a piece of paper and say, "Can you draw a flower?" There's so many variations that come up. As you get older, we get confined with what we know. And I think Natasha mentioned this, when she said we get fixated on, this is how I know that it's done and this is how it should be done. But with a young mind, it's like, hey, let's try it this way. They're not afraid to say it may not work. Okay, if it doesn't work, so what? At least we tried, right?
Mhm.
And then comes the idea. So it's interesting, Pastor Campbell, that your son discovered a light that's dimmable. And I'm laughing. I have one in my bedroom. I have one, and I didn't realize initially when it was put in there, it came with a fan.
Yeah, that's the one.
And,
That's the one.
yeah, and the light, and it has a remote control. So the first time we put the light in, I turned on, I was like, I don't really like this new light. It's so dim. The bedroom is kind of semi-dark. And so my son, actually, he was 3 at the time, also got a hold of the remote control, and he was just pressing it, and it just got brighter, right? Like the more you press it, it gets brighter. So you can brighten it as much as you need to, or dim it. So yeah, there goes young people for you.
That's amazing.
yeah.
That's very interesting. A 2-year-old made a discovery. Eureka! I
But
found it.
it's interesting because they're digital natives. Like my son learned at 1.5 how to scroll on the phone, right? Like his iPad, he could scroll.
Mhm.
Yes, and so then he would just observe and started pushing buttons. So every screen, even computer screens, he thought there were scrolling screens. But we didn't want to inhibit his creativity, and so he creates all these things in his mind and stories and create. So yeah, we should harness that creativity that these young people have. So
Yeah, we should harness that creativity, but nothing beats playing in a mango tree. Nothing beats that. Nothing beats that, Kasuluba. Huh? And the poking dogs chasing you. That's the best technology. Nothing beats that. Mango tree. Yeah, the best expression she gave is we need to that fusion between the older generation and the younger generation, and everything else that has been said here about it. But I'll still say this, okay? I'm just throwing in this little thing. I still don't agree with the president appointing Panji Kaunda as High Commissioner to Malawi. No, I don't agree with that. Mr. President, I love you, but I don't agree with that one. Nelly, you have a special show coming up tomorrow. Tell us the time and what. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's show. What's tomorrow's show about?
So tomorrow's show on Insaka is about Mother's Day. We are celebrating mothers, whether you adopted, you raised your younger siblings, birthed your own children, whichever way that you parented. If you're a mother, we are celebrating you. So happy Mother's Day. And don't forget, if you want us to show you on our show a picture of you and your mother, send us your picture, whether it's you and your mom or yourself and your child. Send us those pictures with a short message, not more than 200 characters, and we will celebrate you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central on Insaka Talk Show.
So just go to Facebook and search for Insaka Talk Show. That's very simple, just the way it sounds, okay?
Yeah.
And you'll be able to get that. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us. We are just about to wind up here. I'm about to do something. So remember, next week is this month we're celebrating. It's our 14th anniversary special anniversary feature. Wow. And next week, Dr. Victoria Scott takes over the show.
The bulldozer. Love her.
I am so scared of next weekend's show. I don't know why.
Oh, don't worry. It's going to be fun.
You see, that's a problem with us who interview others. When it's you on the other side of the chair, you suddenly you lose sleep, you know.
Yes.
And so happy Mother's Day, everybody. All to all the mothers, to all the ladies, and we shall enjoy this with Nelly, Winnie, Priska, and Miss Irene as they guide us through that as we celebrate Mother's Day tomorrow. Don't forget to send your Mother's Day greetings. And before we end, on a sad note, we just want to convey our condolences to the Mwamba family. Most of you may know Dr. Frida Brazo. She lost her brother about 2 weeks ago. His name is Robert. He is an accomplished jazz player. Robert featured on Zambia Blog Talk Radio when before we went virtual. That's Robert there. He was a very gifted musician and jazz player. Robert will be put to rest today in New York. I believe as we speak, the memorial service is going on. So we want to say to Dr. Frida, J. Mwamba, Muriel, and Bishop, and the entire family from Zambia Blog Talk Radio that we convey our condolences and our prayers are with you. I remember that show when Robert came on. We had a great discussion. We played his music, and that's what. So to the Mwamba family from the Zambia Blog Talk Radio Global family, our condolences to you. And before we sign off, I just want us to take a few seconds of silence as we just reflect and celebrate Robert's life. We'll see you all next weekend. Happy Mother's Day. Don't forget to tune in on Insaka tomorrow at 3 p.m. Just search for it on Facebook, Insaka Talk Show. Thank you, Natasha. That was exciting, brilliant. You make me feel 19 years old again. Look forward to, and please like our YouTube channel, ZBTR TV, so that you'll be able to get notifications when we go live, in case you forget. Thank you, everybody.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio.